Caching definitely makes your site faster, but it can also betray you in production by serving old, stale content even after you've deployed an update. To demonstrate this, let's see an example with a CloudFront distribution network and an S3 bucket as an origin. So basically CloudFront is caching files that are served up from the origin, which is an S3 bucket. And what I've done is I have a file called index.html that I have just uploaded into an S3 bucket. So this creates the file here, and this uploads it. Now let's see what happens if I do a fetch to this domain. So this is a CloudFront domain right here, and I fetch for this index.html file. What we can see we get right here is a miss from CloudFront. And so if I then just say I want to get the content, so I'll just use curl here, we can see it's version 1. But when we access this, we get a header back, which is what -i will do, give us the headers, which is saying a miss from CloudFront, which basically means CloudFront doesn't have this file, what we requested here, in its cache. So it goes back to the origin, S3 right here, to retrieve it, and then it'll store it in its cache here for however long duration we set. But now where this could be an issue is, say we want to bump this up to version 2, and then let's upload this to S3. Let's see what happens if we do a curl here. What we get is a miss from CloudFront, which means that it's not in its cache, so it has to fetch it from the origin. So if we run this, what we're actually getting back is version 2. But if, say I quickly, let's do version 3 right now, and then let's do this curl. Notice how we're getting back, and I also need to upload version 3. And then let's do a curl here. Notice how we're still getting back version 2. And so if we do this curl with the headers, what we're getting is a hit from CloudFront. And what this means is the content it's delivering is from its cache. So it's not fetching it from the S3 bucket. And this just comes from how you configure your timeouts for serving up new content, refreshing. So still getting version 2, but let's say I wait a while. So still right here, hit from CloudFront. Let's keep waiting, still get a hit from CloudFront. Now we're getting a version 3. So that means that it's expired. We'll be getting hit from CloudFront because now version 3 is stored in the cache. But you can see the problem here. This basically means that, say we deploy a new version of a file, it might be live in S3 or the origin, but the users around the world are still seeing the old version until the cache expires or we manually invalidate it. And so this could, of course, be a hidden danger of caching. And so if you're wondering why this does happen, it's because CloudFront acts as a middle layer between your users and your origin, which we can see right here. And basically what it does is it decides whether to serve content from its cache or fetch a fresh copy from the origin based on TTL, or time to live values, and HTTP headers. So let me actually pull in a simple diagram right here. So here we have our user request. It goes into the CloudFront edge location, which is basically just a server somewhere in the world. It does a cache check, which means is the object in its cache still valid? If it is, it'll be a cache hit, it'll serve it up. If it's not, it'll have to fetch it from the origin, which will be a cache miss. Let me widen this out so it makes a bit more sense. It will be a cache miss, so it'll have to fetch it from the origin, and then it will store that new one in the cache for future hits, and also serve it up to users. So when it comes to caching rules, so once again we'll stick with this CloudFront example. CloudFront uses both origin headers and its own TTL settings to make caching decisions. So right here we can see I'm configuring the default cache behavior with the methods, and also here our cache control in time. So minimum time to live, default, and max. And as an example of some headers for caching, here's one that's the more modern version, is called cache control. And another header that you might see, and this is a legacy one that was replaced by cache control, is expires, which says when this thing in the cache expires essentially. But what I basically want to tell you from all this that is if you push an update but CloudFront or even the browser cache hasn't expired the previous version, users may still see the stale content. So that means the biggest issue with this is, say you could get a mismatched HTML and JavaScript bundles, or UI changes are rolling out inconsistently across regions, all sorts of issues like that. And just real quick, some solutions. So one is you can do just an invalidation. So this is a command right here where you can invalidate your caches on your distribution, so your specific CloudFront distribution. Another thing you can do is just version your assets. So you could do something like version 2.js, index.2.html, all that sorts of stuff. And also Amazon has, or if you're using AWS specifically, will have some pre-configured cache times for optimizing, say, static assets versus API calls, which you could look into that as well. I want to thank you for liking and subscribing. Check out my software and courses in the description. Follow me on Medium and take it easy.